We are going to discuss managing your lost career. For years, companies, or when you got your education, they would often tell you go to work for the corporation. That was great back in the 20th century, but that does not work today. When the Europeans first came to this country in the early part of the 20th century, they brought their skills with them. In their homeland, they often used their push carts to sell their wares to customers going from home to home. As these Europeans began to settle in the United States, they brought their skills with them. But instead of going home to home, they would put their wares on push carts and sell them from street corners. I remember the story that my father told, how his father sold fruit from a push cart in the street. My mother's father, my grandfather, his family settled in Savannah also, and they had the general store. But my grandfather could not take the heat in Savannah, Georgia, so he went back to Russia, and when he came back to this country, he settled in New York City. My grandmother's family settled in New York City also, and my mother often talked about her Uncle Barney. What Uncle Barney did was he worked in the high-rise as a janitor, and then he went to work for the steel mill. Because he wanted to work for the steel mill and the owner could not pay him a salary, he was willing to work for free until the owner was able to pay him. Therefore, when the owner died, it was in the owner's will that they could not fire Uncle Barney. They had to allow him to work until he was ready to retire. Therefore, he worked until he was in his 70s. Also, the early part of the 20th century was also the time when the corporations started coming into existence and growing. Therefore, the first generation born in this country, what they did was they often went to work for the corporation, and they worked 25 years. They started at the bottom, they worked their way up into management, and when they retired, the company gave them a party and a gold watch. Their children were known as the baby boomer generation, and because at that time it was assumed that you had an unwritten rule that guaranteed you a job for life, that often in the late 80s and 90s, when corporations started to merge and had more than one person doing the same job, they decide to cut the workforce. And in the process, they offered buyout packages to anyone who had worked anywhere from 15 to 20 years. So what that did was that it allowed the employee to have 6 months to 9 months of income plus their health care coverage, and they could try to see if becoming an entrepreneur was the way they should go. For some, this was, and for others, they went to work for small companies and worked another 10 or 15 years before they retired. Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Nexter, and the Millennial generation no longer have guaranteed jobs with a corporation. The most you can expect to work for a corporation is maybe 5 years. And if you utilize what you learn in being a businessman working for the corporation, you can take those same skills and put it into having your own business. And the best way to do this is, if you're interested in building a business of your own, find out what it is that you have a passion for, and then get a coach to help you put together a plan and help you build it into a high-paying, successful business. While you are doing that, there are solopreneurs today who have products to sell, And if it's something that's in your niche and you already know other people who would be purchasing those products, then what you do is you become an affiliate with that solopreneur and you help them sell their products and earn a commission. How we have become full circle today from where we were 100 years ago is that more and more people are working from home. For instance, many companies, rather than renting a lot of office space and having a lot of overhead, they're having smaller office space and just having their management people work there. And they're buying the computers with the software installed and supplying the employee with the computer and the telephone, which allows you to work from home, have flexible time, and pick the days that you want off so that you can do things with your children. This also allows the individual to have tax breaks. And the best way to do is remember what was a secretary in an office in the 20th century, where they worked in an office pool and they worked for 3 or 4 different people and they got a set salary. Well, today you can be a virtual assistant working from home, doing the same thing, working for the same amount of people, but having each of them pay you. And you can charge them a set fee per hour. And by having 5 or 6 different people pay you, then you can be, in essence, be earning more money. If you want to learn how to become a successful entrepreneur, remember, the best way to do this is to have a coach, because the coach can help you find your passion. They can help you put together a strategic plan and hold you accountable to that plan so you can build a successful business today. I work as a career coach, and I have helped clients build a high-paying, successful income. The name of my company is Career Performance Institute. And my website is the number 1, personalcareercoach.com. My email address is succoach@yahoo.com. And my home phone number is 678-462-0005. Now, remember, there's been professions out there where even an actor, the job market has changed, because in the early part of the 20th century, when many of them they would contract with the corporation, or like MGM, the movie companies, the Time Warner, and they would pay them a salary, and they would tell them what movies they were going to be in, and they would promote them, and they would train them, and they had the publicists that helped promote them. Today, an actor has to go out and seek jobs for himself. Every time they finish a movie, they're no longer employed until they find the next movie. You find that out of 100% of successful actors, the ones that are making the big money, that's 0.1%. Many of them have multiple skills. For instance, think about what Michael Jackson did. He owned his music. So anytime his music played, he earned a royalty on it. Anytime he did a concert, he earned money on it. If he wrote songs for other singers, then he earned royalties on it. An actor, think about it. Many of them, once they find they're not getting in front of the camera on a consistent basis, they will become directors and producers so that they can be earning an income through multiple sources. Even actors today, many of them write their own movies, or they direct their own movies. So they have multiple streams of income. So this is what you need to look at. And also think of the things that you can do that can really help you build and grow a successful business today.